We are doing a fundraiser with and for Lady Parts Justice, and our first comedian coming up is the co-founder of Lady Parts Justice. Please put your hands together for Lizz Winstead.
Oh, you're very nice. Thank you. So I'm just going to be a little bit brief and just kind of fill you in on what the hell Lady Parts Justice is, because a lot of people are like, "Who are you? Are you like Lamb Harrington?" It's like, no. So my background, I'm a writer and a performer of comedy. I was a stand-up for many years. I still am. I was co-creator of The Daily Show. I launched Here America Radio. And I was always responding to the world through humor and calling out hypocrisy. And one of the things that just got me was that when you work in corporate places and do comedy, you can shit on people to a point, but then you can't tell them what to do about it because they have to sell beer. So I'm like, you know what? I keep working on shows. I feel like, and I would get people riled up, and then I was like an anger fluffer. You know, it was like crazy, which I felt like is bad. Like when you just get someone all riled up and then you leave, you're just basically like a activist tease. And I was like, I don't want to be that. And so when I left Here America, I didn't know what I was going to do next. And somebody said, you know, do you want to write a book about something? And I was like, okay, because then I had 18 months to write a book, and then 1 year in, I had not written one word because I have imposter syndrome, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I can't. There's nothing for me to say. A guy would just write a book, like 4 books, and then wave his mediocrity around and be loaded. And I was like, I don't know what I have to offer. So I fucking panicked, and I decided to go home. I'm from Minnesota, and I decided to go back to Minnesota so that I could, like, think about life and not be distracted. Like Minnesota was a time machine. There wasn't any internet. I don't know what I was thinking. Like, oh yeah, I grew up in a cabin. And no, I didn't. I grew up in Minneapolis. And so I got back to Minneapolis, and when I was writing, it occurred to me a lot of stuff opened up. And one of the things that opened up was that my own life I never really talked a lot about, and the fact that I got pregnant the first time I ever had sex when I was 16. And I ended up at one of these crisis pregnancy centers that we are trying to expose. If you went to our table, we have a thing about it. And being Catholic and terrified and 16 and in a relationship with somebody who was horrifyingly abusive, I knew I needed to get out of the relationship, but I didn't know how. So I knew when I was pregnant that I fucking couldn't be, right? And so I ended up at one of these places, and the woman actually showed me that book of bloody fetuses and was like, this is your fetus now, our baby. And then they were like, and in 6 months, this is your baby. It was like a 6-year-old kid on a bike. And I was just like, this shit just seems weird. And she's dressed up in a lab coat. And I'm like, you know, that's the same lab coat they have at the Clinique counter. Like, everything was fucked up. So I just was panicked. And when I said, I have to leave and I have to think about it. And when I was leaving, she said to me, I just want you to remember your options are mommy or murder. Yeah, and it was scary and terrifying, and there's 4,000 of these places out there just scaring the shit out of people who are really vulnerable. And so as I started writing this part of my book, all these laws started happening, like fast and furious, and Mike Pence was in Congress then. And he proposed the first bill when that new Tea Party Congress happened. He wanted to defund Planned Parenthood, defund the national parks, and defund public radio. And I was like, what the fuck? Are they performing abortions on Car Talk in Yosemite? Like, what is happening? What is happening? Turns out that wasn't happening. And it failed, because that would be fantastical. But when it failed, all these states literally started passing laws, and clinics were shutting down right and left. And I got really panicked because I kept reading about like entire regions of America being closed off to poor women who needed birth control, access to abortion. So I was finishing up my book, and I was like, I have to do something. So I decided that I piled my dogs back in a van because I had to get them back to Brooklyn. And I decided to do benefits along the way for clinics that just needed help. And I figured that if I did shows, I could amplify what was going on. And as I did, something weird happened, and that was I would get booked to do a show that was like for a whole bunch of rich ladies, $300 a ticket. None of us could afford to go, and none of those women could get pregnant. And there was something wrong with what that was. Like, why are all the ones with the money? Like, it was just fucked up. Like, where were women that looked like they could get pregnant and didn't want to be? Never at the benefits I was doing. So I asked if I could go visit the clinics. And when I went to visit the clinics, first of all, they were like, why? And I said, because I really want to meet the people who are doing this work. And they're the people I think who can identify most and who are the age. And when I went to visit the clinic, the same thing happened to me every time. Either a doctor or a receptionist or a nurse would say, thank you for coming here. No one ever comes here. People don't visit us. And I just recognized that I'm somebody who got to have an abortion and I got to move on, and I was one of those people that didn't. And I knew a lot of my friends were those people that didn't. And I knew that just showing up gave these people just a modicum of like, thanks for recognizing the work we do. So what started out as 6 benefits became literally 100. And I got back to New York and I called a bunch of friends and I made a pot of chili and I said, we have to do something. So I got writers and comedians and a whole bunch of folks gathered in my living room and I said, you guys, I really want to expose these laws with videos, but more importantly, we need to go on the road and we need to gather people in these communities together through music and comedy, and then have the people who work at the clinic speak to them so that they can really understand how they can be helpful and how they can raise the spirits of these clinics and how they can help keep these clinics open. So we just got back from a 2-month tour where we spent literally 16 cities, 17 clinic visits, 15 shows, and we got 2,000 people to volunteer for all these clinics in Jackson, Mississippi, Birmingham. Like, we were in places that nobody went, and places where rooms like this sometimes, rooms with 400 people, but things start in rooms like this, and that's what we do at LPJ. And so it's the fact that you're here makes me feel really excited, because we always need more voices and people. It is so rewarding and amazing. And there's no one else doing this work. In the whole movement of what we do, there wasn't a single organization that was checking in on the providers to find out, how is your mental health? Do you have support? What do you need? And the things that we found out were so incredible. If you provide abortion almost anywhere, you can't get anybody to come and mow your lawn or fix your fence or clean your gutters because you provide abortion. So they're literally, when they're done with their shifts, climbing on their roof and cleaning out their gutters. And through us going out and meeting folks, we hook them up with people and they sign up right after our shows. And so creating that community is really important. So I'm thrilled you're here. We do all of this through donations. So it's really fun that you're here. We have donation buckets. I'm going to say, if you got a couple of bucks, throw in there. It keeps us going. And please sign up to work with us, because it is a gas. We do tons of stuff in New York. We're going to be doing a lot of clinic protests outside these fake clinics that actually are predatory. And we're just thrilled you're here. And the bottom line is, we're fucking resisting. This bullshit's got to stop. The alt-left lives, and that is us. So yes, let's not go there. That seems problematic. But yes. And you're great, and I'm so thrilled you're here, and thank you very much, and you have a great show ahead of you that's going to be really funny, and I think I'm going to turn it back over to Becca. Yes, right? Thank you.